Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Upside of Authentic Leadership podcast. Really glad to have with us this morning Dr. Brian Sekula. I met Brian a few months ago and was really intrigued by Brian and his program that he has through the Health Performance Institute. Brian is a doctorate in physiology from the University of Houston. He's also been a professor there as well. And this program that Brian has developed is really relevant to and resonates with our times today because it really originally was developed as an insulin replacement program for people to get off insulin. But now, obviously, with the emergence of Ozempic and how viral that's gone in our culture, and with so many users and devotees, really is relevant to that as well. So, Brian, welcome to the program. Really glad to have you.
Hello, Mickey, and thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
So let's just go ahead and kick off with the hot topic of Ozempic. Really
Okay.
love to hear your views on Ozempic and how your program can really help clients or patients who are taking Ozempic deal with some of the challenges they're facing.
Yeah, sure. It seems like Ozempic or Wegovy or just these GLP-1 inhibitors in general have kind of exploded all over the news in the last couple of years with people taking them and having tremendous success. And I think there is a place for these things in proper context and right environment. Ozempic was originally intended to help people that are type 2 diabetic, to help them reduce their fat tissue so that they can improve their insulin resistance and no longer be type 2 diabetic. But because of the outstanding, I guess, quote unquote, outstanding weight loss results, they ended up making Wegovy, which is the weight loss equivalent that people can be prescribed if they're not diabetic. I think these have a good application in certain situations. I think one thing that people need to be concerned with are some of the outcomes that we're seeing, and those outcomes, specifically on the ones that are taking for weight loss. What we're seeing in the research is that most people, 70%, are voluntarily stopping the drugs, not because they're where they want to be with the weight loss, but because of the things that they're experiencing. They don't feel good, they feel sick, and they develop what a lot of the researchers are referring to as apathy. Part of the two, I guess the main focus of what Wegovy and these other drugs, Ozempic, do is they reduce your hunger, so you have less desire to eat. And then they also increase the amount of time that food sits in your digestive system so that it increases your sense of being full. And so when you have less desire to eat and you have a longer sense of being full, the end result is that you're going to lose weight. But what people have reported, at least those that are stopping the drugs, is that it kind of makes them feel sick to have this food sitting in their digestive system for too long, and they don't like that feeling. So that's something people have to be concerned with. And then the other thing people have to be concerned with is if someone loses a significant amount of weight, whether it be with these drugs or on a kind of a standard dietary protocol, and by a significant amount of weight, I'm talking about 100 pounds or more. If you lose that amount of weight, you're going to lose fat tissue and you're going to lose muscle tissue. And what we want to do with a dietary approach is to minimize the amount of muscle tissue a person loses, because the muscle tissue is what is a main driver of our metabolism and caloric expenditure. What we're seeing on outcomes for people that take Ozempic and similar drugs is after an extended period of time and a significant amount of weight loss, that they're losing a significant amount of muscle tissue, more so than a standard dietary approach. And so at the end of their of reaching their goals, they've lost more muscle tissue than someone who did a standard approach. And that is an issue, particularly for people as they age, because the older you are, the harder it is to build muscle mass. And if you lose a significant amount, then what it does is it puts you on a fast track to being back where you were when you started Ozempic or considered taking it, because of the reduced metabolism that comes with losing muscle tissue.
So tell us a little bit about your, I'm sorry to interrupt you, just curious about your program. Give us a high level sort of summary of your program and how that would help with some of those problematic side effects.
Right. So the main thing that I offer is called an insulin resistance challenge. And the objective there is for people that are type 2 diabetic, pre-diabetic, have a family history of type 2 diabetes, is to reverse insulin resistance or improve insulin sensitivity as much as we possibly can through proper behavioral habits. What kind of foods you should be eating, what kind of exercise you should be doing, sleeping better, and managing stress. And so those are the four kind of overview pillars of the insulin resistance challenge. And the objective, like I said earlier, is to help people get to the point where their insulin resistance is much better or completely gone. And what you see with something like this versus taking Ozempic or any of these other weight loss drugs, when you're taking the drugs and that's all you're doing, you're not developing any behaviors or changing your patterns of food that you're eating or the exercise that you're doing. If you're not doing those kinds of things while you're on the drugs, and if you're not adapting these kind of lifestyle behaviors, once you stop taking the drug, you've ingrained nothing different. So you have the same habits that you've always had. Because of the additional muscle loss, you're on a fast track of regaining all the weight. With the insulin resistance challenge, what we're trying to do is trying to ingrain some outcomes, some things that are easier to do, so that you can develop these behaviors, cement them into your lifestyle and into your daily habits, so that you don't have to worry about losing muscle tissue or ending up back to where you were, because you've learned things that are advantageous to keeping your insulin levels down, keeping your insulin resistance down, maintaining muscle mass, burning fat, all those kinds of things.
So one of the, we were joking before the podcast, you could actually rename your challenge the Ozempic resistance challenge. That basically, if somebody's on taking Ozempic and they're cycling down, they could, using your program, cycle up on the behavioral change and actually maintain the benefits of the weight loss and just the health, general improvement in health and well-being.
Yeah, I think so. Because that's the important part. I mean, one of the kind of the umbrella term that the researchers use for describing what people report as to why they quit taking Ozempic is apathy. And we certainly don't want to have anybody with a bunch of apathy stopping a drug and then gaining weight, because it just kind of builds on itself. But one of the things that we cover in the insulin resistance challenge is we show people the truth. We have all kinds of knowledge on all of these metabolic pathways and metabolism in general, and things that people should be doing so that they do get the results that they want. But they need to hear things like,
right. And one of the, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, one of the more popular videos that I do with the challenge is why you need to do more. And if you just follow advice, take medication, your risk for cardiovascular disease, cancer, all these other things doesn't change. In fact, in some cases, it's higher. And people aren't always aware of that. And so there's a lot of things they aren't aware of. They're just told of the outcomes down the road without realizing there could be some quicksand or muddy roads between here and there. And then they get out of it and they realize this may not have been a good idea.
One of the things I love about your program is the group aspect, that you include everybody once they sign up. They're participating in a group of folks that are in similar situations regarding either diabetes or weight. And so they're able to receive the support and encouragement from other group members. And that's, in my experience, a real game changer, to not be isolated on your own trying to do hard things. Have a group around you to help you keep a good attitude and good energy as you work towards
accountability and support and all that stuff. Yeah, so we have an online community where people can go 24/7. We have live videos almost every day, different topics, whether it be food or exercise, sleep, stress, what your blood sugar should be, all these kinds of different topics. And so when you wrap in all that stuff, we're all in the same boat. We're all here to help each other, support each other, hold each other accountable, whatever it is that people need. I'm trying to create an environment where people can show up, feel comfortable, be safe, and get whatever it is that they need so that they don't have to worry about, is this information valid? Is it good? Is it going to help me? All those kinds of things.
Right. And you shared with me before the podcast about an individual who was really active in pre-COVID in in-person groups, and his wife even attended with him, and it really made a difference for him to show up and have that accountability and group support.
Yeah. He ended up losing a little over 160 pounds. And like I mentioned, he had due to his weight gain and his health status, he was having seizures that he really couldn't predict when they were happening. And so he went to get his driver's license renewed, and this information made it into his medical charts. And then somehow the Department of Motor Vehicles connected all this stuff, and he couldn't renew his license because of that. And so he went to a doctor, and his doctor said, look, once you get to a point where you're not having these, I can write you a letter and we'll see if you can then get your license renewed. Well, he searched around and found me and got in the program and ended up doing really great. And this was before COVID, and when we would do things in person. And he would show up to our group meetings, and then he ended up bringing his wife with him, and she was supportive and helping him and being accountable and those kinds of things. And his story was really remarkable, and the people that were there were interested in his story too, because he was losing weight, and very motivated, and doing great. He ended up getting it took him almost 2 years, but he was able to get his license back, and he was super excited. People in the groups that knew him and knew his story were happy for him. So that kind of group aspect where you can feel comfortable talking about what you're going through, and getting people to either talk about their experience and give what they feel was helpful for them as advice. It's hard. You can't, it's immeasurable.
Yeah. No, I have that same experience in other areas of my life with groups. So totally get that. So we got about 5 minutes left here. I mean, the main reason you started your program wasn't for Ozempic. Pre-Ozempic obviously was to help people get off insulin and have be able to say cure. Would you say cure is the right word for diabetes? the type 2
Well, it depends
diabetes?
on who you talk to. It depends on,
Yeah.
but certainly remission is a word that a lot of people will recognize. A lot of people don't think you can cure diabetes, but so there may be some mincing of words there, parsing of words. But to me, it doesn't matter what word you use. If people can get to a point where they're no longer on medication and they can live their life the way they want to live and don't have to worry about taking their medication, that whether you use the word remission or cure doesn't matter to me, because they're not taking meds.
And so the some of the recent news about Ozempic and its manufacturer, largest manufacturer globally, Novo Nordisk, is making headlines about how they're ratcheting down the production of insulin and ratcheting up Ozempic and Wegovy. And there's a risk in terms of a supply, a stable supply of insulin, and a price risk is, of course, if you reduce the supply. So how would you respond to that?
Um, well, I'd say that if they stop manufacturing insulin, that's going to be a tough deal for people that take insulin.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be especially tough for people that are type 1 diabetic who require insulin because they don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a major disruptor to the supply chain portion of the supply and demand, because demand's not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
But supply will change. And so however expensive it is now, it's going to be that much more expensive, and it's going to be that much more harder to get.
Yeah.
And so I don't like this news, even though I'm
Right.
trying to get people off of it. I mean, it would be ideal if no one took insulin, but to do something like this on this type of level is um, is not something that it's not news that I like hearing.
Right. So, I mean, I'm going to be optimistic here and
Yeah,
say we can get as many people as we can on your program.
yeah.
That would be the ideal solution. So tell us how we
And
can
they
have
won't have to
people
worry
can,
about Novo Nordisk not making insulin.
right. It's just not even an issue. Right. So
That's right.
tell us how folks can find your program and online and through the
So
app.
they can go to my website, briansakula.com. And on the menu there's the IR challenge. They can click that, learn about the challenge. There's soon to be available there. There'll be a free preview where you can sign up for kind of a free preview of the insulin resistance challenge. When people are in our program, we have an app that they can download on their phone. Right now, it's not available. It's not fully integrated into the Apple, the App Store, or is not fully integrated into the Google Play Store. That's 2 or 3 months away, because that's a whole big process you have to go through. Much more time consuming and hurdle jumping than I anticipated. I didn't.
Mhm.
I don't want to say complicated, because it's not really complicated. Just make you jump over a bunch of hurdles and through a bunch of hoops. So
Mhm.
that's taking a little bit of time, but so it's not available per se where you can go and search for it. But
Mhm.
once people sign up and they create their account on our website, then we have a direct link to the Apple Store or the Google Play Store for them to
Mhm.
download it. And
We'll have
everything is
all
on the
the
app, so they can do with their phone wherever they are.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that, and we'll
Yeah,
be sure and have your website is Brian Sekula
yeah,
is briansecula.com.
yeah. .com. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have that available in the notes when we release this podcast. And
Hmm.
yeah, so Brian, really excited to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing your information, your
Yeah.
knowledge. I think it's going to make a big difference in people's lives to the positive. And I hope your app is the bestseller on both the App Store and Google Play Store, because I think
Well,
that would be a great sign.
that would be excellent as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, because we'd be helping a lot of people then.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Exactly. So thank you.
You
I
bet.
appreciate you being on the podcast, and look forward to keeping in touch and seeing how it goes, see how it develops.
Well, me too. I appreciate you having me on. So I enjoyed this very much. Thank you.
All right.